If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you've trusted someone with your whole heart before. Maybe you even believed you'd found the person you were meant to spend the rest of your life with. My name is Ethan Walker. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Chicago, Illinois. I've always lived a pretty simple life. I work as a structural engineer for a construction company. My days were filled with work, the gym, family dinners, and spending time with close friends. I never chased parties or one-night stands. I wasn't interested in that kind of life. All I wanted was to find one woman, someone I could build a future with. For a long time, I truly believed I had. Her name was Olivia Carter. We met by complete accident. One summer afternoon, I stopped by a small coffee shop near my office. While waiting in line, someone bumped into Olivia, causing her coffee to spill all over my white dress shirt. She looked horrified. "Oh my God. I'm so sorry." Instead of getting angry, I laughed. I guess this shirt decided it was time to retire. She smiled. That smile changed everything. I asked if she'd let me buy her another coffee. She agreed. One coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a 5-hour conversation. We talked about everything. Our childhoods, our dreams, music, travel, the places we wanted to see someday. It felt strange, almost like we'd known each other our entire lives. After that night, we were almost inseparable. Every morning started with a text message. Every evening ended with a phone call. Within a few months, we were spending nearly every free moment together. Olivia was beautiful, but it wasn't her appearance that made me fall in love. It was the way she listened, the way she laughed, the way she looked at me whenever I talked about my goals. She used to tell me, "Ethan, I feel safe when I'm with you." And I believed every single word. On our first anniversary, I gave her a gold necklace with a small diamond pendant. She cried. She hugged me so tightly that I thought she'd never let go. Looking back now, it's hard to believe that the same woman would one day become the greatest source of pain I've ever known. My family loved her, especially my mom. She constantly told me, "Don't ever let that girl go. She's special." Even my younger brother, Ryan Walker, got along with her really well. The three of us spent holidays together. We had family barbecues, game nights, weekend trips. Ryan and Olivia joked around constantly. Honestly, I was happy to see them becoming friends. Why wouldn't I be? Ryan wasn't just my brother. He was my best friend. We grew up together, shared a bedroom for years, protected each other through school. I trusted him with my life. Never, not even once, did I imagine that the two people I trusted the most could betray me together. Months passed. Olivia and I started talking seriously about marriage. We looked at houses, talked about neighborhoods, even joked about what we'd name our future children. Without telling her, I had already started saving for an engagement ring. I had the entire proposal planned. I wanted to ask her to marry me at sunset by Lake Michigan, just the two of us. Simple, romantic, perfect, or at least, that's what I thought. Life has a cruel way of destroying perfect plans. The first warning sign was almost impossible to notice. One evening, I texted Olivia after work. No reply. An hour passed. Then another. Then another. I started worrying. I called her. Her phone was turned off. Around midnight, she finally called me back. She apologized and said her battery had died while she was shopping with one of her girlfriends. I believed her. In fact, I apologized for worrying too much. A few weeks later, it happened again. Then again. Then again. Every time, there was another explanation. Another excuse. Another reason. Each one sounded believable. But something inside me had started to change. It wasn't jealousy. It wasn't paranoia. It was intuition. She became unusually protective of her phone. Whenever I walked into the room, she'd lock the screen almost instantly. If someone called, she'd leave the room before answering. One evening I joked, "Were you hiding? Government secrets?" She laughed, but something about that laugh felt different. "Oh, please," she said. "It's just my friend. She's always creating drama." I smiled. And I believed her. Because love has a strange way of making you ignore the things that seem obvious to everyone else. Looking back now, the truth had already been standing right in front of me. I just refused to see it. No one wants to believe that the person they love can look them in the eyes and lie without feeling a thing. What I didn't know was that the worst betrayal wasn't coming from a stranger. It was coming from the two people I loved the most, Olivia and my own brother Ryan. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. I wish I could tell you that my suspicions were wrong. I wish I could tell you I was simply overthinking everything. But I wasn't. About 2 weeks after I first noticed Olivia acting differently, something happened that completely changed my life. It was a Friday evening. I had just finished work earlier than usual. Instead of driving straight home, I decided to surprise Olivia with dinner. I stopped at her favorite Italian restaurant, picked up takeout, bought a bouquet of white roses, and headed to her apartment. I remember smiling the entire drive. I had no idea those flowers would never leave the passenger seat. When I arrived, her car wasn't there. I texted her, "Hey, I brought dinner. Are you home?" No reply. 10 minutes later. Still nothing. Then my younger brother Ryan called. "Hey, Ethan. What's up? You busy tonight?" "Actually, I was supposed to have dinner with Olivia." There was a brief pause. "Oh, okay, never mind." His voice sounded nervous. I didn't think much of it. Looking back now, that was my first mistake. The next morning, Olivia finally called me. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I fell asleep at my friend's place. My phone died again." Again, that same excuse. I wanted to believe her, but something inside me wouldn't let it go anymore. For the first time in our relationship, I started paying attention, not spying, not accusing, just observing. And the more I watched, the less everything made sense. She started working late 3 or 4 nights every week. Ryan suddenly became impossible to reach on those exact same evenings. Family dinners? He always had an excuse. Olivia? She had one too. Coincidence? Maybe. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. One Sunday, our parents invited everyone over for lunch. Ryan arrived almost 20 minutes late. Olivia came separately. As soon as she walked into the backyard, something happened. Ryan looked at her for just a second. She smiled. It wasn't a normal smile. It wasn't the smile of two people who barely knew each other. It was the smile of two people sharing a secret. I noticed it immediately, and for the first time. A terrible thought crossed my mind. No, that's impossible. He's my brother. She's my girlfriend. People don't do things like that, do they? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every memory started replaying in my head. Every canceled date. Every late-night excuse. Every hidden phone call. Every awkward moment. For the first time, the puzzle started fitting together. And I hated the picture it created. A few days later, something happened that I still remember in perfect detail. Ryan came over to my apartment while I was fixing my truck. He walked inside to grab a bottle of water. His phone was sitting on the kitchen counter. Then, it buzzed. I wasn't trying to invade his privacy, honestly, but the screen lit up. One message. Just one. From Olivia. "I miss you already." I froze. My heart stopped. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe she sent it by accident. Maybe there was another Olivia. I picked up the phone. Before I could even think, Ryan rushed into the kitchen. He grabbed it from my hand almost instantly. "What are you doing?" His voice was louder than I'd ever heard before. "I just saw a message." "What message?" "From Olivia." His face turned pale. Then he forced a smile. "Oh, she's helping me plan your birthday surprise." A birthday surprise. It sounded believable, but his eyes told a completely different story. That night I couldn't eat, couldn't think, couldn't focus. I kept asking myself the same question. If everything was innocent, why was he so scared? The following week, everything fell apart. I had a business meeting across town. It ended much earlier than expected. On my way home, I decided to stop by a shopping center. As I pulled into the parking lot, I saw Olivia's car. I smiled. Maybe I could surprise her. I parked about 50 yards away. Then, Ryan's truck pulled into the lot. My stomach dropped. I watched him get out. He looked around, almost as if he wanted to make sure nobody was watching. A few seconds later, Olivia stepped out of her car. She walked straight toward him. No hesitation. No distance. She wrapped her arms around him. Then, she kissed him. Not on the cheek. Not as friends. A real kiss. The kind she used to give me. In that moment, it felt like the entire world went silent. I couldn't hear the traffic. I couldn't hear people talking. All I could hear was my own heartbeat. Every lie. Every excuse. Every late night. Every unanswered call. Suddenly, everything made sense. The woman I was about to marry was having an affair with my own brother. I sat there for almost 20 minutes, unable to move, unable to breathe, unable to accept what my own eyes had just seen. But the worst part was still coming, because discovering the affair was only the beginning of the nightmare. I had no idea that Olivia and Ryan had been hiding something far bigger than their relationship, something that would destroy my family forever. I wish I could tell you that I confronted them right there in the parking lot. I wish I had stormed over, demanded answers, and ended everything on the spot. But I didn't. I just sat there, frozen, watching the two people I trusted more than anyone else walk into a restaurant together like they didn't have a care in the world. That drive home was the longest drive of my life. I kept asking myself the same question. Why? What had I done wrong? Was I not enough? Had I missed something? Or had everything we'd shared been nothing more than a lie? By the time I got home, I had made one decision. I wasn't going to confront them until I knew the whole truth. Not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted certainty. I never wanted to accuse someone without proof. Over the next 2 weeks, I quietly started putting the pieces together. I didn't hack anyone's phone. I didn't break into anyone's accounts. I simply paid attention. The lies became impossible to ignore. Whenever Olivia claimed she was working late, Ryan suddenly became unavailable. Whenever Ryan said he was out with friends, Olivia's location somehow didn't match the story she had told me. The pattern repeated over and over. One evening, I asked Olivia a simple question. So, how was dinner with your coworkers? Without hesitation, she smiled. It was great. I nodded. What restaurant? For the first time, she hesitated. I don't remember the name. That was all I needed to hear. A few days later, I made the hardest decision of my life. I ended the relationship. There was no screaming, no insults, no broken furniture. I simply invited Olivia over to my apartment. She smiled when she walked through the door. I missed you. I looked at her for a long moment. Then I quietly asked, how long? She frowned. What are you talking about? You and Ryan. The color disappeared from her face. For several seconds, she said absolutely nothing. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Ethan, you're being ridiculous. I looked her straight in the eyes. I saw you. Silence. Her expression changed instantly. She realized she couldn't deny it anymore. Instead, she blamed me. You were always working. You stopped paying attention to me. You made me feel lonely. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She cheated, and somehow, it was my fault. When I asked if she loved Ryan, she didn't answer. She simply picked up her purse, walked to the door, and before leaving, she turned around and said something I'll never forget. You're going to regret this. Then she left. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Friends, co-workers, even distant relatives, everyone was asking the same question. Ethan, what happened? I had no idea what they were talking about. Then one of my co-workers sent me a screenshot. My heart sank. Olivia had posted online that I had been controlling, emotionally abusive, obsessive. She claimed she'd been afraid of me for months. None of it was true, but people believed her. Within hours, the rumors spread everywhere. Some friends stopped answering my calls. Others blocked me completely. Even people at work started looking at me differently. My manager called me into his office. He didn't accuse me of anything, but he asked if everything was okay at home. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about a breakup anymore. She wanted to destroy my reputation. A week later, things became even worse. Someone vandalized my truck. The tires were slashed. The windows were shattered. Across the driver's door, someone had spray-painted one word. Abuser. I stood there staring at it. I felt sick. I had never laid a hand on Olivia. Not once. Yet somehow, people already believed I was a monster. Then came the biggest betrayal of all. Ryan called me. I think we should talk. Against my better judgment. I agreed. We met at a quiet park. He looked exhausted. I never wanted this. I stared at him. You never wanted what? Hurting you. I couldn't even look at him. Then why did you? He looked down. It just happened. I laughed. No, you made hundreds of choices. You lied. You hid it. You looked me in the eyes every single week while sleeping with the woman I loved. He didn't deny it. Instead, he asked me to forgive him. Forgive him. As if betrayal was some kind of accident. I stood up. I don't have a brother anymore. Then I walked away. That was the last conversation we ever had. Or at least, that's what I thought. Because I still didn't know the truth. Olivia wasn't acting alone. And Ryan wasn't the one making the decisions. Someone else had been manipulating everything behind the scenes. Someone I never would have suspected. And when I finally uncovered that secret, it changed everything. After my conversation with Ryan, I thought the worst was over. I was wrong. The affair had ended my relationship. The lies had damaged my reputation. But I still had no idea how far Olivia was willing to go. For weeks, I stayed quiet. I didn't argue with people online. I didn't post angry videos. I didn't try to expose anyone. I focused on one thing, rebuilding my life. I kept going to work. I started seeing a therapist. I spent more time with my parents. I reminded myself every day that no matter what people believed about me, I knew the truth. Then, one afternoon, everything changed. A woman named Sarah Mitchell contacted me through email. I didn't recognize her name. Her message was short. Ethan, we need talk. I know what's been happening, and I have information you deserve to see. At first, I thought it was another prank, but something told me to reply. We agreed to meet at a quiet coffee shop. Sarah looked nervous. She introduced herself. I'm Ryan's ex-girlfriend. I was stunned. I had heard Ryan mention her years earlier, but we'd never met. She took a deep breath. Ethan, you're not the first person Olivia has done this to. I frowned. What do you mean? Sarah opened a folder. Inside were printed text messages, screenshots, and photos. She explained that Olivia had secretly contacted Ryan long before she and I started having problems. At first, she flirted with him. Then she convinced him to keep their conversations a secret. Eventually, the friendship turned into an affair. Ryan wasn't innocent. He made his own choices. But Sarah showed me something I never expected. Many of the messages came from Olivia. She was the one arranging meetings. She was the one telling Ryan to hide everything. She even mocked me in some of the messages. Reading those words felt like being punched in the stomach. The woman I wanted to marry had laughed at me behind my back. Then Sarah showed me the final piece. Several weeks before I ended my relationship, Olivia had written, "If Ethan ever finds out, I'll make sure nobody believes him." I stared at the screen. My hands were shaking. She had planned it. The lies, the rumors, everything. I asked Sarah one question. Why are you telling me this now? She smiled sadly. Because I stayed silent once. And I regretted it. She admitted that Ryan had cheated on her with Olivia years earlier. She had walked away and tried to forget. But when she saw Olivia accusing me online, She couldn't stay quiet anymore. I know what it feels like when everyone believes the wrong person. Those words stayed with me. I gave everything to my attorney, not because I wanted revenge, because I wanted the truth to speak for itself. Over the following months, the false accusations slowly fell apart. People realized there was no evidence supporting Olivia's claims. Several mutual friends apologized. Some admitted they had judged me too quickly. Others never apologized at all. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life. Ryan tried contacting me several more times. I never answered. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes forgiveness simply means letting go and moving forward. About a year later, I heard through mutual friends that Olivia and Ryan were no longer together. Their relationship had ended the same way it began, with lies, with broken trust. Neither of them found the happiness they thought they were chasing. And strangely, by then, I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I just felt free, because revenge had never been my goal. Peace was. Today, my life looks completely different. I changed jobs. I moved to a new neighborhood. I rebuilt my friendships. Most importantly, I rebuilt myself. Looking back now, I don't see that chapter of my life as a failure. I see it as a lesson. A painful one, but a necessary one. Sometimes the people you trust the most will disappoint you. Sometimes the people who promise forever will leave. And sometimes the people who break your heart will try to destroy your future too. But here's what I've learned. They can take your time. They can take your trust. They can even take your happiness for a while. But they can never take your character unless you choose to give it away. If you're going through betrayal right now, please remember this. Don't let someone else's choices define the rest of your life. Heal, grow, move forward, because one day you'll wake up, and you'll realize the person who tried to destroy you no longer has any power over you. And that's the moment you truly win. Thank you for listening to my story.